much always being like, oh, like me and love just aren't two different spectrums. Like, oh, I don't really care to find love because I feel like I was so obsessed with it at such a young age. I don't care to like look for a boyfriend, and I don't need a man, and I want to learn myself and like be on my own and know what it feels like to truly be with myself and like love myself and feel content enough, because I feel like that's what I need to get love or whatever. On one hand, it's also not, I don't want to say not healthy, but it's just better to have my 20s be like alone and not trying to settle down or whatever because of like social media, how like, I don't know, it just gets messy. I feel like I should focus on getting my life together and settle before I'm sitting here trying to make something work with a man. But that also runs the risk of like when you get older, like it's harder to find love, or so they say or whatever. And literally at work, this girl, she's getting married. Like a lot of them have fiancés and kids or whatever. Yeah. I remember I was just sitting there one day, but this girl at work, she is getting married in September, and as I was sitting there one day, I remember like I witnessed her talk about getting married and all those other things. I think I've been in a very like delulu state of mind. Men, no ick, and like love, no ick. And I kind of sat there and I was just like, I think I kind of do like want that. Like I think I do want to like find love and like be married and like know what it feels like to feel love. But I'm just not willing to sacrifice my vulnerability and mental health and like also push off that negativity that I may have at times with another person. And like, you know, the famous like quote, like to be honest, she's like, would you compromise? Remember the name, it's Eartha Kitt, and she's like laughing, and she's like, what, compromise? Compromise for what? Compromise for what reason? To compromise? Like, why would I compromise? But she's talking about like, she's like, you mean like you wouldn't compromise for love? Like you don't believe in compromising to fall in love? And she was like, she kind of said like, no. And I'm like paraphrasing. She's like, I feel like it's a journey about me falling in love with myself, and then someone joining along with that and sharing that with me.
Yeah.
So I was like, dang, I think I do want to be loved. I think I just like am a scorned, bitter person because of like instances that happened, and I'm like, I'm not going to admit that because I want to be vulnerable. And then I'm like, nope, like I'm calling off men, like I'm going back to me, and like hyper fixating on me to like make sure that I can be the best I can be. And it's like, that's not gonna fix the problem that I have with like actually like being vulnerable enough to have an openness for love and like be in a relationship. The whole fucking thing, bro.
Well, and also like men don't make it easy to love them.
They don't.
Like they truly don't, and especially like at
and I'm like, I'm guilty though too.
Yes, yeah, like there's so many layers to it, but it's like we're at that age where people are getting married, people are starting families. It's so ingrained into our culture that like, oh, out of college or at, you know, early 20s is when you should be settling down with a person. So it's kind of like fighting that, again, ingrained culture of you should be doing this versus no, you should be spending time with yourself. I feel like it is becoming a lot more normalized of like being single, being happy, working on yourself. But yes, that little voice is always, I don't know, with humans, we crave intimacy, we crave love. That brings me to that one time. I was like, I want dick. And you're like, okay, go get some. I was like, no, but I want dick that'll like hold my hand. And you're like, no, you want intimacy.
Yeah, no, literally.
I'm like, okay, fine, but
so I'm like,
it's so annoying having to deal with people.
Yes.
Like,
and literally, that's my thing too. It's like, I'll like make a joke like that too, and I'm like, oh, I want this. And I'm like, I really don't want sex, because sex has been offered to the forefront several times, and I've expressed to men, I don't like feeling like that, and I don't only want sex. Like, I want you to tell me if it's going to be about just sex or not. And then they do it, and I'm like, cool, I'm not going to be with it. Like, I don't want that. It's like, I think I just gaslight myself into thinking that, because it's easier to just care about sex versus actually caring about letting someone see me for who I truly am, and then like falling in love and that whole thing. And then that like gets in my head too, because then I'm like, well, the black experience of like making and doing better for yourself to white man pipeline is scary. And then I'm like, what, am I only profitable and lovable as a black queer person and only going to be able to obtain love that I want from a white person? And if so, like, that's scary. Like, does black queer love not exist? Because there's so much like colorism, and there's so much like body shaming and mask for mask and all these things and fetishes and all stuff. And I'm like, that too, like the hang up that I have with dating white people is they don't understand my experience most of the time. And I'm not here to fucking educate. I have a white family, and I always have to educate them, and they're still so ignorant on just my black experience, let alone me being a queer black individual too, identity and how I feel with that. Like, there's so many things to deconstruct, and I don't want to have to feel like I'm doing that with my white counterpart in a relationship.
Yeah, to start from scratch at that, to like introduce yourself to someone, and like with family, not that it's like any better, but it's kind of like forced interaction of like forced having to be around them.
Literally.
Whereas, like, with a partner, it's like, it's a total stranger. Like, you have to teach them things about
Literally.
yourself. And so then to add that layer of, oh, I have to now explain who I am on, what's the word, like an intersectional level.
Like, to the fullest, which is kind of sad too, but it's just like, it's wild. And then also, like, there's like a underlying thing of like, am I just a fetish in your white fantasy of like, oh, like, I have a black boyfriend, I'm not racist, and like, all those things too. And I'm like, I don't, no. Even last night, I was like, like my friend from work said, like, I hope you have fun, and I hope you get all the numbers, all the gay cuties to be there, and made a joke of like, you're gonna respectfully decline because you don't want them, and da-da-da-da. And like, I tell myself that, but I think I do. I think I'm always going out to gay spaces wanting and hoping to like have an interaction, and like, hey, like, how's it going, cutie? Like, I kind of want to give you my number, and like, actually being open and raw enough to experience that and follow through and pop out with a boyfriend. But I just am not. I don't know if I can never get into relationships, or haven't been able to get into a relationship in a long time. So I'm also just not willing to be vulnerable enough and like have a compromise, because I feel like I've been such a people pleaser for the longest time and let people do a lot of things that weren't healthy for me. And so now when I'm trying to build these healthy relationships with people romantically, it doesn't work, because I feel like a lot of what comes with me opening up to me sharing vulnerability on trauma or situations that have impacted me. And I'm like, I can't let a man know the situations that have impacted me and how I'm a lover boy and how I have like issues with not even my ex, but I have issues with how I was allowing him to treat me that still linger till this day and make me feel resentment for what love could possibly be, because I know it's not always healthy, and like it could oftentimes be very manipulative, and like the whole thing. It's like, I feel like people are always like, oh, like I want to get to know you more, but I'm still learning how to know myself. I'm not willing to share and express the dark sides of who I have been as a person, and like what affects me and has made me who I am. Like, I feel like a lot of the happiest, bubbliest people have really sad experiences they go through, and it's not something I want to share dating all the time or getting to know people. Then I'm like, I hate surface level conversation.
Yeah, no, small talk needs to die.
Literally.
Well, and even like with a lot of the more, I feel like, and not to speak for you, but I feel like a lot of the more recent experiences with like talking to guys, hanging out with guys, like they have shown time and time again that it's like, oh, this is temporary, this is short term. Like, they don't even give you a chance. It's so curious. Okay, finishing the thought, they don't even give you a chance to open up right into talking about it. I feel like they're always like pushing and asking for more. And why don't you give me this without letting the like time together like simmer?
And it happened organically.
Yeah, so it's like, it's constantly, y'all start talking, they're immediately pushing for more, whether that's more vulnerability, more about yourself, more sexually, more like, more, without, again, small talk can die, but like without just like letting like little things be known about yourself, like asking questions, hanging out. But then in the span of 3 weeks, they want to know all of this about you, but then they're gone. So it's like, why would I tell you all of this trauma about me or the way I tick when you're gonna be gone in like the next week?
Literally, like, I'm not trying to trauma dump on you. I don't want to trauma dump on you, and like,
that's not how it works.
It's always with it feels like with being gay, like people make jokes all the time about like lesbian love and how it's like, oh, like by week 2, like we're moving in together. It's like it's either gonna be super rushed or it's just not gonna happen. It's gonna be mainly based on sexual like situations and being lustful over one another. Like, either way it goes, both are like short spans of dating situations, and it's not what I want. Yeah, no, and I feel like also a lot of times I'm always like lingering on the edge of like, you can't love 100% of everything of every person. Like, you have to see people for who they are, face value, both good and bad, and decide whether or not you're willing to stick around for that. Like, actually like help them get through that and help them contribute with that, even in friendships, I feel like too. And that's the thing too, I'm like, who am I to expect someone else to see those parts of me and then also be still willing to come up and show up every day for me and love me like unconditionally and know that I'm a good person, and like, it's just a whole lot, because I think I've done that for a lot of the wrong people.
Oh yeah, and that's like the thing of like, I do believe in true love and like just love in general, but love is also a choice. Like, to continue to show up for someone every single day and to be in that committed relationship, if that's your beat. You have to choose to be present and there and to care. Like, and I feel like a lot of people nowadays again, they don't want that. They want to rush into that without giving them the time to actually like learn the person. Again, it's just that like, why aren't we in love yet? Oh wait, you did something and now I have an ick.
Yes,
Now I'm
and we've talked about that too,
leaving.
like how we're like, oh, like this guy's something cool, and then we get an ick, and we're just like, well, like it's over, like no more, and it's like,
the romanticization.
it's terrible. It's terrible that that's a thing, and I think it's also because with social media nowadays, we just have a lackful sense of what love is truly. Like, and like how we like grew up too, like there being issues in the household too. I feel like a lot of times people see those things when their parents are married for a long time. They hear about situations and stories. They fell out of love for like 5 years, but stay together for 45 because eventually, like it came back. Like people like to say, like love's always gonna be there unconditionally, but love has conditions. It's not just something easy, like rinky-dink situation. Like not a linear thing.
It's also so nice.
Yes.
It's so nice, but it's painful.
Yes.